Hello, welcome to my studio. If you're new here, my name is Sophia, and if you're not new, then welcome back. This is a reading vlog with a smidge of crochet thrown in. I will link the pattern for that below. In my last reading vlog, I had 3 different options of books that I was thinking about reading next, and I decided to pick up The Good Luck Girls by Charlotte Nicole Davis, and so I will be reading that in the first section of this vlog. So grab a snack, grab a drink, get cozy, and let's get into it. Yes, I am at my new standing desk because I am up high off the ground right now, but you will have seen that in the last clip that I started reading The Good Luck Girls last night before bed, and I just wanted to chat about this because the premise is much more interesting so far than what I thought the actual premise was. So basically, I did not read too much about this book before starting it, but I kind of was thinking like, oh, teenage cowgirls, like Wild West, like, you know, the back says outlaws. But what I didn't understand, the premise basically is that there are these girls who have essentially been sold into prostitution at a young age, but they don't enter that life until they're 16. So before that, they are just, you know, maids in the house and cleaning, and that the name of those girls is called the Good Luck Girls, and they live in these houses that are essentially brothels, and when the girls turn 16, they get to have their lucky night, which means their first time acting as a prostitute, and they enter that life. The first character we get to meet is Clementine and her sister Aster, and they are both living in this welcome house, as they call it, and Clementine is about to turn 16 and have her lucky night. Aster is her older sister, so she has already been through it, and but there's this sort of culture of not telling the younger girls what actually happens, mostly to protect them, but also to, I don't know, make it so that they don't run away. I don't know, but so all of the girls on the back here are people in the house, and so something happens at the beginning. The inciting incident occurs, and this is only, I'm only on page 45, so a catalyst occurs and things are moving. I believe this is where they will begin to embark on this journey of protecting themselves, running away from this culture. It's not totally clear if this is meant to be like America, but they are in a town that is like a mining town, so they get people who travel through, people who have lived there for a long time. So yeah, we're still not totally sure about the world, but I know a lot more about the basic premise of the story, which I wanted to share early on because, you know, forced prostitution is not a light subject. I was kind of surprised once I found that out, that that's what the book was actually about. So we'll see how it evolves, but so far so good. I really like the writing style, actually. It's classified as YA, but obviously deals with a heavy topic already. I hope we get to know more of the girls and more of their backstory, because right now we just kind of have we've just barely been introduced to all of them, and I'm intrigued to see where the story goes from here. So that is my initial update on the Good Luck Girls, and I will continue to read tonight, and I will see you when I have another update. Hello there. I went to the library a little while ago and I picked up a couple of books, 2 books that have been on my TBR for a really long time. For One More Day by Mitch Albom, and then the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by, and I forget the authors' names, but I decided to check to see if any of them had an audiobook, because for this reading vlog I wanted to read 3 very different books and I need to have an audiobook because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and I feel like that is fun but also not super productive for my time. So I decided to see what was available on Libby, and the Guernsey Potato Peel Pie Society. There's so many words in that title. The Guernsey Literary Potato Peel Pie Society had the audiobook available. So I am listening to that now, and so far, really good. I didn't know anything about this book going in. I kind of thought it took place during World War II, but it actually takes place the year after the war ends. It's about a female author who is trying to find her next story for a book. And she wrote about the war, and now she's looking for stories after the war, and it kind of falls into her lap, but she finds out about this literary society on the island of, it's a island in the Channel Islands during the between France and England, and they were occupied during the war. So one thing I like about this book is that it's written in letters. I didn't know about that going in, and I like it. It's refreshing, and it is fun because the audiobook has like 5 different voice actors, and so each of the letters is in a different voice depending on who's writing it. So I'm really enjoying that, and yeah, I will check back in when I have another update for that book. One benefit of living rurally is that I have an appointment today, and it's an hour and a half each way to get there. So thankfully that means I can get some reading done because I have my audiobook for the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society on my phone. So I will get to do some reading today. But I also wanted to chat about what I've read from the Good Luck Girls so far, because I read quite a bit yesterday. I'm almost to page 200, I think, and I thought at first that our main character was going to be Clementine, who's the person that starts the book, but it actually has turned out to be her older sister named Aster, who is a really interesting character. She has been traumatized by this experience. If you'll remember, the premise of the book is that this sort of alternate history story, girls are sold into forced prostitution from their families or from the orphanage because it's a way of making money for their families. So both Clementine and her sister Aster were sold into this because they had no other option. And so Aster is older than Clementine, so she's been through some stuff with this sort of brothel lifestyle that she's had to live. And she's traumatized, but she's also angry, and I think that really interesting part of the book is like all of these girls feel so wronged, and they have been wronged by the world around them, and they're taking out their anger and their rage, and they're not just like forcing it down and like trying to pretend that everything is fine. And that has been like a really refreshing and like interesting part of the story, especially Aster. Like, she can't see any good in the world, she can't trust anybody, she's just so angry at everything. And you know, she's starting, like, they're starting to talk about it, and they're talking about like what has happened to them or what they've been through, because when they were living in this welcome house, they weren't able to, like, they were discouraged from like talking about what they were going through with each other. Anyways, the book has gotten really good. There is some like supernatural elements to it, like spirits, and these like hunters that are like supernaturally powered that are chasing them. And so there's a little bit of that aspect. First, I wasn't sure about because I didn't think it was like fantasy proper, but it's more like, the way I think about it, it's more like stories that you hear from the past where they're like, oh, the spirits, and like, oh, these terrifying hunters and things like that. Definitely has like Wild West vibes. They're on a journey, they're on horseback, they've got guns, there's a little bit of highway robbery going on. Huck. And so that has been really enjoyable so far. There is a little bit of words and like vocabulary that the author uses that's not how normally we would use it, but it has been, like, they call men rags. This is very like limited and specific, and like what she swapped out for like normal modern day language, and so it's pretty easy to follow. Like once I was like a chapter or two in, it was easy to track like what was going on. But yeah, so I'm hopefully gonna get at least like 2 hours worth of this Guernsey book read, and then I also have my other book with me in case I have a moment while I'm like waiting for my appointment or whatever to read. So yeah, we'll chat hopefully at the end of the day maybe, and see how much further we've gotten. About a quarter of the way into the audiobook for Guernsey, so I'm excited to keep reading. So thank you for this little check-in, and we will chat when I have another update. Welcome back to my bathroom. This is the reality of bangs. I'm getting ready for a work event today that is taking place outdoors. And so I need to get ready, but I also wanted to talk because I finished the Good Luck Girls yesterday. Maybe I'll insert a little glamour shot here, but it was really good. I don't know if it's necessarily like a 5-star read. I kind of am tired of trying to rate books on a scale of like 1 to 5, but it was really good. I feel like it was really well paced, and I kept reminding myself, like,
this is the author's debut novel. Like, this is the first novel she's ever published. And like, it's wild. Like, it was so good. Um, and so, in reminding myself that, like, the pacing was super good. Like, I felt like there was no like moments where I felt like we had to skip through it to get to the next like section or the next like good part. I'm gonna take off my glasses and like wash my face and stuff and do my contacts. So I could see a different version of this book where the main character is the younger sister and she's like young and hopeful and like still like innocent and bright-eyed and like excited to see the world, ready to fall in love, like all this stuff. But that's not what the book is about. The book is from the point of view of the older sister who has seen some stuff, is jaded, is angry at the world, is ready to like get revenge, but also like just wants to like live her life like without any of this reality. And so it was just really interesting. And like there were a couple moments where like I mean the ending was like a little bit cheesy, but um I feel like that's fine. Like I feel like that's what these characters deserved after like everything they've been through. Um and one other thing is that um I feel like there was like a little like the world building was a little underwhelming. But it was realistic in the sense that like the characters were just sharing what they had known and what they had heard. It wasn't like, oh, here's this like omniscient voice. It's like gonna tell you how the world works. Like the characters were just kind of explaining it as they had experienced it, which I think I mentioned in a previous clip that like it reminds me of like if you just heard folk tales like growing up or like lore growing up, that like this feels much more like that as opposed to like a fantasy world that has like rules and stuff that you like need to understand. So um yeah, that was good. I also would like once I got into the story, like I didn't really care about the world building because the characters are so interesting and the plot and the premise is so like intriguing that the the like secondary stuff about like spirits and like the veil and like that kind of stuff, like it just kind of didn't really matter. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend this book. Huge trigger warnings were like uh, assault, forced prostitution, just like general PTSD and trauma. But I also feel like the author handled it really well, where like it felt like a natural progression of these characters, like going from this like horrible situation to like kind of evolving as people and like seeing kind of like what trauma does to you. Um, yeah, it was just really good. I'm like kind of baffled and like because it was like such an unexpected book. Like I don't even remember where I heard it. I think I found it on like Goodreads or something. But this is the author's debut book, so I'm definitely gonna like keep an eye on her and see if there's any other books that she has coming out or like where she's taking her career from here. Because like I am intrigued to say the least. Um, let's fix up these bangs here. Ooh, that was a little crunchy. Um, yeah, I'm definitely interested to see like what else this author does and like because like even though like the premise and the plot were interesting, like the writing was still really good, which I feel like a lot of times you get one or the other. Um, and so it's rare to kind of find like um, an author who can do both. So yeah, And then because I'm going to be in the car again today, I'm going to hopefully try and finish my literary potato peel pie. My I'm gonna try to finish Guernsey today, as in the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, because I have that on audio and I have about 3 hours round trip in the car today, and that's how many hours I've left on the audiobook. So I am hopeful that I can get that finished today. And then I'll only have like one more book that I want to read for this reading vlog, and it's super teeny. So, yeah, I'm gonna do my makeup now. This is the final look, and I'm gonna go finish getting ready for work, and we will check back in when I have a update about Guernsey, hopefully. And I need some caffeine because my voice is like, okay.
All right, now I came back from my event just a little bit ago, and I was able to finish in the car the audiobook for the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. And I really liked it. This is a funny little book. I really liked it. It's written in letters, and one thing that I liked about the audiobook was that it had a cast of characters, so like each audiobook had a different or each letter that was written had a different voice for it. And that kind of helped to distinguish the different characters in my head, because I could imagine just hearing all their names in a flat same voice the whole time wouldn't help me distinguish between the different characters. I do feel like because it was written in letters, though, I was missing some of that like feeling of being in the moment with the characters. We heard about a lot of events after they had happened, and the characters were like reflecting back on it, writing letters to each other. And also, once characters were in person together, they weren't writing letters to each other. So there was there were a few moments where I feel like we were like getting left out because things were happening in person on the island, where, you know, the main character has a friend who lives in Scotland, so she's writing letters to her, but it just felt like there was a little bit of separation between like the audience and the characters at that point. But I do like that the function of the letters allowed us to hear from many different people's perspectives, which was really cool. But yeah, that was a fun little read. I recommend the audiobook. It was only 8 hours, which is not too shabby for an audiobook. And I think that I'm going to read one more book in this reading vlog. And you will see that at the beginning of this vlog, I got this book from the library. It is by Mitch Albom, who's the author of Tuesdays with Morrie, which I have not read, but this is For One More Day. And this has been on my TBR in my Goodreads for a really long time, just because at one point I went through a phase of like trying to read more like literary and adult books instead of like fantasy and YA. And so this one was recommended to me. And so I clearly haven't picked it up since then. It is a teeny tiny little book. It is under 200 pages, so I'm hoping I can just sit in the backyard and read it in an afternoon. Says it's the story of a mother and son and the relationship that lasts a lifetime. So this was recommended to me by a family member, so we'll see if it stands up. I totally wrap up this video. I didn't get a chance to talk about my final thoughts about For One More Day by Mitch Albom, which I misread his name. I thought that it was Alborn because the M looks like an R and an N together, but it's Mitch Albom, which is kind of throwing me off. But this is a teeny little book. It's just under 200 pages, and I was determined to finish this in the afternoon in which I started it. So you saw that I started it outside and then I finished it that night on the couch. I haven't read anything else by this author. He also wrote Tuesdays with Morrie and The Five People We Meet in Heaven, both of which are pretty well acclaimed, but I haven't read them. So this is my first foray into his writing, and I like his writing style. This book is basically about a man who has gets into an accident or, tries to hurt himself, and he is able to spend one more day with his deceased mother. So it is a lot of reflection on his life and reflection on his relationship with his mother. And also, one thing that I wasn't totally sure is that it seems like it's kind of based on a true story. It's based on a real person. I'm not totally sure how real the story is. There's a little twist towards the end that really kind of threw me for a loop, and I had to go back and double check and reread that I wasn't getting something incorrect. But overall, I think if you're looking for a short, quick little book that kind of packs an emotional punch, this is a good little quick pickup. So those are all the books that I read in this reading vlog. Not too shabby. It did take me a little bit longer than I thought it was going to. Actually, I feel like I read all these books pretty quickly, back to back. I just have taken a while getting this vlog together. So for my next few books that I'm trying to read, I do have quite a lot on my TBR, but I think I'm gonna do a really quick reread of a duology that I really like but I haven't read in a while, and I want to kind of refresh that in my mind because I think it'll help the story that I'm writing. So I won't talk about that on a reading vlog, but I'm kind of wondering, reading this short little book, I thrifted a bunch of books that are under 250 or under 200 pages. So I'm kind of thinking of doing maybe two videos, one with reading books under 250 pages and then one reading books that are under 200 pages, and just kind of talking about reading a bunch of those and then talking about how I like the short form more than the long form. I don't know. I think I read a lot of really big books, especially because I read a lot of fantasy and historical fiction, and those tend to be quite thick. And you can see some of my top tier TBR books are quite chunky. So let me know what you think. Or if you want to see some of my reading some more of my must read books, House in the Cerulean Sea, Babel, The Shadow of the Wind. That is also one of my TBR books for the year. Yeah, just curious to see, what are you reading right now? What's the book you just finished? How's your reading year going for you? I love to talk about books, so we will continue to do so here. All right, well, thank you for joining me in this reading vlog, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye.